Alright, so where we left off last time was right about here. And if you remember, I was in pretty good tactical position, in my opinion. I had a large territory with very little people ticked off, which is important in a game like this. Had good terms with everybody, which means that I can dictate my own terms. So if people like you, they'll tend to accommodate more to you. And more than that, they're less likely to attack you. And I had a feeling that most people liked me. I wasn't completely right about that, but I felt like I was. And I was in second place, I believe, at this point. Actually, no, I was scheduled to win. It's right there on the screen. um, yeah, I was doing well. I had my mines running, and I had a large sub of death with a nice little double NG helmsman combo coming up. And I was about to move on red, who was very lightly defended. I felt really good about this game at this point. But things started to heat up really quickly. You can see up here, Crisis did end up attacking Teal really, really strongly. And it was a really, really quick conflict because apparently Riot made some tactical error and ended up getting in a position where he was eliminated, guaranteed, within the next few hours. And he sent me a message saying that. He said, I'm doomed. I'm going to give you some stuff. And so he did, in fact, end up sending me very soon, a little gift right here. And he also sent a gift from up in Kaichan. He sent me 2 tycoons, a couple of drillers, and told me to pick up all 3 of these outposts up here. Which was great for me. You know, it's free profit for being a nice guy. Another reason to be nice. That was really, really good for me until this happened. Crisis was not apparently happy about me getting the gifts. And I was like, okay, it's not entirely unexpected because this often happens after the spoils of war start to drip down the chain of people who were allies, where one, the aggressor, will attack their supposed ally who had not attacked and therefore been sent gifts by the victim, if that makes sense. And so I figured Crisis was just declaring war on me because he wanted the stuff. And I was like, all right, fine. But while we were in this stage, where the sub was getting ready to launch, Crisis sent me a message. He said, I am going to take the gifts. Drop the shields at Tomets and move your drillers. And I was like, all right, that's a threat. But no, I'm not going to do that. Like, I felt confident at this point because I had a huge army and I had a huge territory, and I was like, I can defend this. And I was like, no, you can't do that. And this is a declaration of war. In no uncertain terms, I told him all of this. And he seemed genuinely surprised. This is where I started to get really frustrated with Crisis, because he seemed genuinely surprised that I didn't take this well. And especially that I didn't take it lying down. And so he launched the sub. I told him in no uncertain terms, if you don't make that sub a gift, I will kill you. I will take all of your territory and I will kill you. And he was like, Road, calm down. I just want the gifts. It was like at this point that he started to get really condescending. Really kind of like as if he was addressing a child. And that really frustrates me as a person. I don't like being addressed as a child. And so I started to get really frustrated. I was like, you cannot have this. Will fight back. And he just pretended that it was all okay. And he told me, you have time to change your mind. Come back when you calm down. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to kill him. He's done. There is no way. And so I went in all the public chats and I actually blew it out of proportion a little bit. I acted like I was more upset than I actually was. So that one Crisis would it's a tendency I find that when someone overreacts to being attacked, it means that they don't think they can win. And so I wanted to project that atmosphere of someone that doesn't think that they can win to Crisis. On the other hand, I sent messages to everyone else in the game saying, hey, Crisis is kind of a jerk. And I sent them the story of what happened and said, I'm going to kill him, basically. And everyone else was like, yeah, I don't like Crisis either. Yeah, if you think you're annoyed, just think what I went through. Stuff like that. And I was like, oh, apparently I wasn't the only one Crisis tried to push around. I found out later that he had been sending one driller subs at Light Blue and just saying, in case I need your outposts, you can drop the shields for me. Or he had asked Purple to just give up his mine. Just, so that you can be funded later, right? Like, that's perfectly reasonable, right? No, of course it's not. What the heck? And so apparently Brown had made a lot of enemies, and not just me. And I shouldn't have been surprised by this, but I was. And so I was like, oh, can we somehow make an alliance against Brown? And everyone was like, sure, let's do it. But things started to shift against me because down here, janitorial duties. Apparently, he did not take me rejecting his funding very well. And I noticed this sub right around the time that I was moving all these drillers up here, and I looked to the left and I was like, ah, crap. Crap. And so I sent janitorial duties a message saying, I'm about to kill Brown. Do you want Brown to win? And Beige was like, I think I can beat Brown, and he's helping me win by causing chaos, or something to that effect. And I was like, I can't argue with that logic. And so I puzzled over it for a while, and I was like, well, my only options are to defend against Beige, which I could do. It was very possible. And to take a couple of hits up here, but eventually defending against Brown. And just kind of staying where I was for the rest of the game. And coasting maybe into metal, maybe not. Or I could go full-on revenge mode. And I decided that this game hadn't been very fun for me up to this point. And I decided that nothing would be more fun than charging through Crisis's territory with a huge sub of death. And so that's what I decided to do. I told Beige, you know what? You can have all my territories. Just leave my queen alive. And I sent messages to all of my neighbors saying something to that effect. And they, of course, were pretty happy with that. And I started sending everything else north. I really, really wanted Crisis dead. He kept on messaging me. Even though I had told him, I don't want to talk to you anymore. He kept on messaging me, saying stuff like, we've been duped by Panda, who's red down here. Or, or Road, you don't have to do this. And it's like, he acted like we were still friends. And I was like, please just let me kill you. Like, let me kill you in peace. I don't want to be bombarded by constant messages of you telling me what I could be doing. Like, and so he's like, I feel like if he hadn't done that, some of my determination would have ebbed away. Because it's a long game, and it took me a bit more than a day, I believe, to get all the way up here. And I think that I would have been less frustrated with him by the time I got up here. But as it was, I was still pretty frustrated with him by the time I got all the way up here. And I looked at this kind of trench right here. And I was like, his queen is right there. He's got a mine right there. Blue is about to take his princess. I need to get to Ran. But he's got an assassin and 2 smugglers. And I couldn't think of a way to make that happen without him fleeing with the queen and taking out my specialist by leaving behind an assassin. And what I decided to do was get as close as I could, then wait and watch and see if he made a mistake, which I thought he did. He went right here. He moved. And I looked and I saw his next hire was a martyr. And I was like, maybe that's why I thought he was safe. Because he was like, oh, I can blow up whatever he sends my way. But by moving all of his specialists away, he was now leaving his queen undefended and slow. And I checked the math. I moved my, uh, I checked the distances between the two outposts, and I found out I could get to Sedna faster than he could hire a martyr and launch it to Sedna. And so I figured my best option at this point was to go and take Sedna and then see if I could corner him in Ran so that he couldn't use his martyr against me. And I thought that was a great plan. I mean, obviously, I launched a lot of stuff his way, and I took pains to even avoid getting hit by the assassin. But he hired a helmsman. Ah! Had I known that he would get a helmsman the next hire, I would have been a lot more careful. Um, but man, it ended up blowing up all of my drillers. This is all of them, save for a couple that I'd left behind. 400 drillers gone in one fell stroke. That's one of the most impressive martyrs I've seen. So props to him. Tactical prowess, just man, that was frustrating. So for the rest of the game, I just kind of I've been sitting there. There's really nothing else for me to do. It was a frustrating game, honestly. I could have played it better. I could have done several things to keep myself from being a target. I could have talked more. I could have appeased janitorial duties. I made a lot of mistakes, and I get the feeling that I made those mistakes because I fixated on taking Crisis out. Which again, maybe that just means he's brilliant, but it's not a fun thing to play with. So if you're watching this, please do not emulate Crisis. You might win, but nobody will like you. I should point out, though, that Crisis did not win this game. In case that convinced some people that they want to win more than they want people to like them. Crisis is not going to win this game. We have effectively torn him to shreds because nobody liked him.